Hello Flyshums and welcome to the E75 TS, well, the other one, which is in crates now, which immediately disqualifies this tank from being worth buying in any way, shape or form, so video over essentially. Don't buy it, crates are stupid. Even if this thing would be in the shop for, let's say, a reasonable price of 8,000 gold, would it be a good option? And that's what the point of this video is to figure out. And this vehicle, obviously, if you have a look at the Wargaming page, obviously they're overhyping it and describing it with things that are standard, and they're giving it credit for things that other tanks do better. So that's the point, right? If you can buy something better, you're getting ripped off if you don't. So at this point, you get double ripped off, as in you have to gamble in crates. You spend 20,000 gold for a E75 TS that's marginally better, and you also get ripped off because you get ripped off. And now, the E75 TS, you could have gotten this vehicle for free 2 years ago. So, yeah, let's have a look. Now, here we go. What we can immediately see, 2,100 DPM. That's relatively standard for tier 8, so nothing special there, nothing outstanding. Penetration, 225 is above average, which is very nice. 350 alpha damage, which is better than the 310, which a lot of the others have. So that is definitely a point where this vehicle does win some brownie points. And it is also relatively accurate. However, not as accurate and not as good in the aim time as the T42. Also does have less gun depression and less DPM than the T42. Then it is also slower than the T42, despite Wargaming claiming this being a fast vehicle. That is essentially the same ground resistance as the Tiger, and actually massively worse ground resistance than the Tiger on regular grasslands and stuff like that, because it's basically hard, medium, and soft terrain. It is slower than the Tiger 2. It is slower than the Tiger 2. It does traverse slightly faster, but it does traverse slower than the T4E2. So at that point, the only thing it actually wins at is the alpha damage, and that it immediately loses again by having less DPM. So, well, slightly. So, that's not so great so far for it. You having to pay quite a massive premium to obtain this vehicle. And then even if you look at the Lurva, it has way better penetration. And the MX does have as well. So, there is that. They also have 10 degrees of gun depression. Now, another thing that this vehicle supposedly have is very strong armor, so let's have a look at that as well. 208mm, 156mm. Well, if you look at that, the T4A2 has more. Now, rear armor is the most irrelevant stat of all time, so you can completely ignore that. Now, the sides of this thing are pretty well armored. However, the E75 TS's sides are better, and the E75 TS also has a thicker turret. However, obviously, the E75 TS has a very flat turret, so it does lose there anyway. Now, let's have a look at the armor of this vehicle, because this is where it somewhat does well in. Now, it does have a cupola on top, so if you use your 8 degrees of gun depression, you won't be able to be penned in that. And you also won't be able to be penned in the turret, unless for very specific little plates that might look out. You hit 200mm here, so you can somewhat be penned here. Now, the gun mantlet's obviously impenetrable, that's how it goes. Upper plate is also pretty strong. You're going to need some very good rounds to get through there. Some tier 9s probably not going to struggle, but 330mm gets you out of the range of heat with a 330 pen, so that is very, very strong here. The lower plate's a weak spot like it is on any tank, so the armor is really good. Side of the turret is relatively strong as well. You do have the screens, so everyone that shoots heat at your side is going to pen. However, we have here, the screen does not protect it fully, so you can get shot through here, but 260 at this angle is relatively strong as well. So armor on this tank is very good. Now, armor is what you need when you don't have skill. And, well, it's always nice to have, but does the extra armor that it have justify the massive extra price? Of course it doesn't. It never does. Ah, goddammit, CDC. Anyway, it is now time to lose, probably, because the CDC is dumb. That is very unfortunate, but that does happen. Now, the E75 TS and the Keiler are going to have somewhat similar mobility, and the Tiger 2 is actually faster than the Keiler, so it's just a blatant lie about Wargaming spreading there. I mean, if you compare the mobility to that of a turtle or something, it is solid, but yeah, that's a bit of a bad comparison then. What is that? What is that, people? What is that? A cockroach plays better than that. Alrighty, Tiger's dead. That's already good. We have mitigated the complete lack of brain on that CDC already, which is very good. And now we're going to simply move up. Now, the difference between the E75 TS and the Keiler is the Keiler has slightly better alpha damage, and it does have, well, it does have worse DPM for that, and it does have better turret armor. However, you can still have this thing wiggle enough, and with the thickness of the armor, you will still be able to bounce plenty of shots. With this one, you need premium rounds. With the Keiler, it's not going to pen. So, for the bad player, you're impenetrable in both vehicles. So, there is essentially no difference there, because you can't assume everyone's a Unicum, because not everyone is, and not even the Unicums are Unicums. So, at this point, they're essentially, if they were sold at the same price, the Keiler is undoubtedly the better option. However, if one is more expensive than the others, then the more expensive one is the worst option. So, this one was available for free, if you've gotten enough masteries and you played for it. So the Keiler is always going to be the worst option compared to that bundle. So, congratulations, Wargaming, you shot yourself in the foot. Now, obviously, if you didn't play the game 2 years ago, you didn't have time to complete that event, then it is obvious that you are not going to get this vehicle. But then again, you could have gotten the 112 too. So you couldn't get the 112 2 for free and have the same experience, again, essentially for free, just by playing the game. So why would you now gamble on crates to get a vehicle that isn't impressive? Bruh. So, yeah, I don't get that, and I'm gonna die probably to Dracula. Or not. It's a Dracula, so, yeah. Progetto doesn't have any AP pen, but it does have pretty good premium pen, so that is 3.7k damage for me here, so pretty decent result, I'd say, with a still relatively horrible team. So you can see that this thing is already a good vehicle, right? And the differences between the E75 TS and the Keiler, they come more down to who's playing it rather than the tanks themselves. So at that point, don't buy the vehicle, never gamble, crates are bad. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. Another very disappointing crate tank from Wargaming, another disappointing team, but that's nothing new at this point. I'm just repeating myself the entire time. So, this is not going to end well, is it? But anyway, with that said, thank you very much for watching, appreciate it, and see you for the next one. Goodbye!